the SEC, 19th ranked Alabama. From the Pac-10, number 23 Washington. Bama beat Minnesota last night. Washington got Oklahoma. Sooners, by the way, beat Minnesota to finish third earlier tonight. And we've got one of the most versatile players around here to talk about, and that's Ernest Shelton in the backcourt for Alabama, and the little big man, Nate Robinson, for Washington.
Both teams can really score, averaging 87 points a game. Alabama led in this tournament right now by Ernest Shelton, knocking down half of his shots from the field. He's taking 7 3-pointers a game. He's making 4 of them. Scores from the 2 and the 3-point variety. And a guy that can impact the game as well as anyone I've seen in a long time at only 5'8" is Nate Robinson. Can explode around the rim, terrific rebounder, and plays the game, Bob, with the heart, the passion, and the enthusiasm and the energy that you love to see on the college level.
It is truly the Great Alaska Shootout. Both of these clubs averaging right around 88 points a game. They are versatile, don't depend on any one guy to score, but Washington is without a significant player tonight. We'll develop that as the night goes on in the absence of Brandon Roy. Bob Carpenter, Jimmy Dykes at Sullivan Arena. Neither of these teams has lost a game. One will be Great Alaska Shootout champion. The other one will go home with its first loss of the season.
And I think the best 2 teams in Alaska this year have made it to the finals. That's in the month of November. I'm not so sure, though, watching Oklahoma play again tonight, that come March, we might look back and say, you know what, Oklahoma was the best team in Alaska this year, because that team's got a lot of upside, man. And I think Kelvin Sampson's squad is going to be hard to handle come March.
They beat Minnesota 67-54, but led by as many as 23. And the Tide with the opening touch.
Key for Washington, can they muster enough energy to win this ball game? 3 games in a row, and a team that plays awfully hard and relies on energy, they got to have it.
Great patience by Chuck Davis. Washington's not going to be as big as most of the teams they play, at least underneath. Robinson spinning, kicking. Will Conroy, their point guard, and that one is off the hands and maybe the knee of Bobby Jones.
Talk about the energy level for Washington with Brandon Roy being out of the ball game tonight. They're even a little bit thinner.
Freshman point guard Ron Steele gives it up. Back the other way. Trey Simmons, Conroy, and we're tied. Will Conroy, 6'2" senior, top 5 all-time at the UW in assists, and he can score with the basketball as well, averaging 11.
This defense is not just locked down with principles. It's more disruptive and try to speed you up. If you can get the ball around the rim, you can score on it, but that's not easy.
Davis taking a high-low look for Jamario Davidson. It went to the wing before getting there, and then the turnover. The most notable player might be the absence of Brandon Roy of that Washington lineup. Hyperextended his right knee, is not available tonight. And Jimmy, they're not really looking forward to the news they might get about him on Monday.
Official word may come Monday. He could be out maybe as much as a month. It could be a meniscus problem, and he, in my opinion, he's their best overall player.
They want the ball to go through him on almost every possession. How about the hustle? Almost an assist for Nate Robinson on his back. Bobby Jones traveled with it, though, before getting the shot out.
Washington, a small team. They are now, and they will be all season long. So they must play with a great deal of energy and enthusiasm. If they don't play with energy, then they become just a small team. If you're a big team and you don't play with energy, you're at least still big, and that's a plus.
Well, maybe some championship game jitters here. Less than 2 minutes into the game, each team with 2 turnovers. Kennedy Winston on the perimeter. Good cutoff in the baseline by Trey Simmons. Deep 3 ball. It's long from Ernest Shelton, who had hit 15 of his previous 28. Down goes that 3, and that's Ron Steele, the freshman.
Alabama's not a club you want to give second shot opportunities to. They shoot the ball too well.
First ever 2-time Mr. Basketball in Alabama was Steele, getting the starting nod as a freshman. And a violation by the Huskies will send it back the other way. Mark Godfrey, 7th year at Bama, 123 wins, 191 his 10th year overall. Started his career at Murray State. What a great run, beating Southern Illinois, #1 seed Stanford and Syracuse, before losing to eventual champ UConn in Phoenix last March.
His Uncle Mike is the ESPN football analyst. I think he's up in Nevada tonight for that Boise, Nevada game.
Not a bad weekend for the family. Bobby Jones trying to stay with Chuck Davis. And Bobby Jones will get his first. Bobby operating down low for Lorenzo Romar. Third year at Washington. Just now edging over the 500 mark with his 3-0 record. Knocked off Utah in the quarters. Got Oklahoma by 5 last night. And a chance for a championship in their 4th ever visit to the Great Alaska Shootout. That's an Alabama offensive foul on Ernest Shelton.
Washington, again, Bob, they're disruptive defensively, and what I mean by that is they are terrific at all 5 spots guarding the ball. I don't think you can do a lot of damage against them off the bounce. You're going to have to pass that basketball, stay spread, and make them work.
Trying to contain Robinson. Dancing into the paint. Little long with that one. And the rebound swept out of there by Chuck Davis, averaging 6 a game for the Tide. Long straight ahead pass knocked away from Kennedy Winston, and Alabama will keep it.
Both clubs like to rip and run, coming averaging 87 points a ball game. You run from offense to defense tonight. For both teams, you better have your head on a swivel, locate folks, and stop that basketball.
Hard to do. They're both shooting 51%. From the wing, Steele, the freshman, Long with the 3. Running with the rebound, Will Conroy for Washington. Jensen's a big fella who can shoot the 3. That's his first of the year that's gone in, but he's not at all shy. He averaged 41% beyond the arc last year.
He is a pick and pop guy, and when he trails in the break, you've got problems.
Bobby Jones the steal. Robinson can't knock it in. Shelton blocks him from behind. Don't relax after any made baskets here tonight.
Guys, hold it right here. Look at Mike Jensen. He's your 5 guy, Bob. But again, this is a club of interchangeable parts. The 5 guy is awfully confident, just drifting behind the drive right there, gets spotted up and knocks it down. Now, that's a personnel scouting report move that Alabama has to adjust to, because that guy can flat out shoot that basketball.
Off the curl, Trey Simmons. Got the shooter's roll. The good shooters always do. And that's his first basket. 6'5" senior, one of those Garfield High School kids out of Seattle. There are 3 of them on the Husky roster.
How can the true freshman point guard for Alabama hold up for 33 or 34 minutes he'll play tonight against this kind of pressure? That's a question Mark Gottfried had for me in his locker room about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, Mr. Basketball 2 times in a row, but going to school as a freshman, and I think we know who the professor is in this classroom.
Little number 2 in the gold uniform will teach a lot of lessons this year on the hardwood.
Catch and shoot. Down it goes. 2 in a row for Trey Simmons. And that 3 ball gives him 5 on the night. He didn't play against Utah because he was still serving that suspension. But he had 13 points, 6 boards, a couple of assists against Oklahoma last night. 10-5 Washington, 4.5 minutes in.
Good job by Steele to come and get the ball out of the hands of the 4-man, because that's what Washington tries to do in their press. Make someone else bring it up.
Look at Kennedy Winston get himself some separation for that shot. Good hard work by Bobby Jones. Got that rebound over to Will Conroy. Simmons traffic. Jamario Davidson for Alabama, picking up that loose ball.
Straight man-to-man defense out of both ball clubs so far. Washington will have a tendency to run and jump in the half court and the full court.
Trey Simmons on the foul.
Well, Trey Simmons, Bob, gets the start tonight because Brandon Roy is out. Pretty much a finesse guy that's not going to really do a lot of grinded out type work. But he's nicknamed and his name Trey for a reason. The release, the rotation, and the result right there.
Tiger, Annika, the
gloves, hats, and sleds are pretty economical here in Alaska. College basketball is priceless. It's been a great feast week. Bob Carpenter, Jimmy Dykes in Anchorage. Now, hoops is a lot like looking for a job. You need a good resume.
Yeah.
So how about that for this game tonight?
Well, whoever wins this ball game will have a plus on their resume come March, because I think both clubs are NCAA tournament type teams. So in March, you look back and say, who did you beat non-conference on a neutral floor? This will be one of them, because I think both these clubs will find their way into the field of 65. Yeah. And it's interesting. I played and coached in this tournament, Bob, and I think all coaches coming in have questions they want answered. For Washington, how would their front line hold up in 3 games in a row? It got answered last night in the form of Jamal Williams. He stepped in and did a terrific job. The question for Alabama and their staff, can we get through the year with a true freshman point guard? So far, it looks like it. 14 points, 4.5 rebounds. What I like about him right now, he has a 2-to-1 assist ratio, playing 33-34 minutes.
Kennedy Winston at the line for Alabama. Ron steals, 6 assists. Couple of steals against Alaska Anchorage, 2 assists against Minnesota. And running the point, that ends an 8-0 Husky run as the Tide get back on the board here, 10-6 in the first 5.5 minutes. It's so far tonight. Gets the start because of Brandon Roy's injury, and he has 8 points already.
But always after a timeout, you have to guard. They drew it up, they brought it to the floor, and it got him 3 points. In every ball game, 8 to 10 points are decided coming out of a timeout.
Looks like an illegal moving screen on Alabama.
You're going to see the screen being set right here, and the shooter's just going to curl off of it, Bob. And again, this is after a timeout. So watch as it rolls forward here, where 3 points are going to be awarded to Washington. There's the pass. There's a little bit of a headhunter screen, a down screen, the catch and the release. And again, this is not a club, Washington, that runs a lot of set plays, but they are awfully prone to do it after a timeout.
That offensive foul on Kennedy Winston counts as a turnover. 6 of them by Bama now, 1 more than their field goal attempts. Another one from the outside. It just rims out on Trey Simmons. Rebound for Bama's Chuck Davis, their most active so far. Big fella's had that dribble for a long time, and he'll finish it off. He'll shoot another. We talk about point guards keeping their dribble. How about the big guy?
Well, watching Washington on film and in person this week, again, if you can get past the chaos on the perimeter and get the ball to the rim, I think you can score on them. This time, it's the 4 guy that handles the chaos and the disruption defensively and gets it to the rim. I know he's listed at 6'7". I think he's more close to 6'8", maybe 6'8.5", but a long, long wingspan has number 1 in maroon. Makes a lot of plays around the rim because of it.
And Trey Simmons of Washington, 2 early fouls now. By the way, we appreciate your bearing with us. A couple of little technical problems from Alaska so far in the early going. We'll get everything cleaned up for you and enjoy a great night of basketball out here with Alabama and Washington in the Great Alaska Shootout, the 27th annual. To the scores table comes Hakeem Rollins of Washington. He's one of their backup post guys, very strong. He'll bang you in there, and a solid presence, a real contrast to the man he replaces, the shooter, Mike Jensen.
Both these clubs, I think, are attack the rim type teams, and to back that up, Alabama comes in averaging 30 free throw attempts a game, Washington 25. Both teams have a foulable style about them.
Jump hook. Wouldn't quite go down for Jamal Williams, who had the big night against Oklahoma last night. 18 points, 6 assists. Couple of blocks. And quick transition at the other end with some bodies colliding. Joel Smith in for Washington now. Washington foul on Nate Robinson, his first. Well, Trey Simmons, 2 early fouls, 8 points. Right off the catch. Shelton goes down to the baseline. Ran into a couple of Huskies. Gabby Lujan, the local official, will call it on Joel Smith.
You know, it's a gamble early in the year to play man-to-man defense on bobs, which is baseline out of bounds. And the reason why, you watch the first 4 or 5 games a year, there will be a couple of baskets scored every game because of the scouting is not deep enough yet to pick up all the baseline out of bounds plays. That's exactly what happened on this trip for Alabama.
Clangs in for Ernest Shelton. And for the senior out of Memphis White Station High School, his first point of the night. He's leading the Tide right now, averaging 20 a game in their first 4.
Well-rounded young man, also an academic all-SEC type kid.
He's going to get his degree on December 18th, a management degree. That's in the afternoon. That night, he'll play at home at Coleman Coliseum for the Tide.
You always want your guards and your doctors in life to be high IQ people. Check the resume of your doctor next time you go in.
Jamal Williams on the Washington foul. And the Huskies have some fouls piling up early here.
Well, again, it's the style of play that these two teams possess. They're not going to come down and pass it 5, 6, 7 times and turn you over. They're too athletic. They attack gaps. They find openings. They get to that rim area, and as a result, they get themselves to the free throw strike quite often. Tide
with a mini run here. A basket here would make it 7-zip. On the drive, Felix. And that's going back the other way, as Jean Felix got himself out of control. Tuesday, ACC Big Ten Challenge. We get it going Monday, but here's the Tuesday menu. Michigan, number 3, Georgia Tech. And then a huge one, Michigan State at Duke. That'll be a dandy at Cameron. It's all brought to you by 989 Sports. Log on to ESPN.com. We've got Monday, Wednesday, with Tuesday in between on ESPN and ESPN2.
That Georgia Tech team, they really intrigue me right now because they got great guard play, but 7'1" Luke Schencer, I think, is a rare commodity on the college game right now. And there's only about 3 or 4 more that I'd throw in that book. Craig Forth at Syracuse, Nick Smith at Illinois, and Oklahoma State's got one this year named Franz Stain. Now, those 4 guys are all over 7 feet tall, and they're surrounded by great perimeter play. Keep an eye on those 4 teams because of the height factor that they can throw at you.
Yeah, Schencer, one of the guys from Australia we talked about. There's an air ball thrown up off the left hand of Will Conroy. Here comes the Tide. Tie game, 8 minutes in, and Alabama in control right now. A 7-0 Tide run.
Alabama locker room had one word written on the chalkboard, poise. And that was for more than just the freshman point guard. And poise is making sure you make every pass tonight to the outside shoulder against this type of pressure.
Washington really extending the defense throughout that half of the court. Shot clock is under 10, first time tonight. Shelton, shot clock at 4. Do they know it? Shot clock at 1. Never got it off. Not very good court awareness by Alabama there. Great half-court defense against Mark Gottfried's club by the Huskies. 8 minutes in, 13 all. And when we started on Wednesday, we had this beautiful ice sculpture, the basketball, the skyline, the Chugach mountain range. It's been a little balmy, partner. It looks like the aftermath of a disaster movie. A tidal wave came in, and look at this. Anchorage, out of the 8 tournament cities, 2 cities are colder today, Salt Lake and Minneapolis.
And because of those warm temperatures, that's why I have not been able to go dog sledding. If there's no snow, then the sled doesn't go quite as efficiently through the mud, they told me. The dogs just shut it down.
Yeah, the dogs looked at Jimmy now like, what are you guys from, Arkansas and Oklahoma or something?
And we're still mooseless. We thought we saw one the other night on the drive home.
Yeah, my partner made us pull over, folks, to see a moose. It was a pile of dirt. You're bad. Steal. Down to Weber, who just checked in, and he gets himself a transition basket. Al Weber, a 6'2" freshman guard out of Louisiana.
Where's the energy level for Washington in this ball game? Again, it's a club that relies on playing so hard, and now this is 3 games in a row. That may have been a sign right there.
Sometimes you can see it in the shooting. A little bit short from Will Conroy. Up and over, drawing the foul will be Washington's Hakeem Rollins.
Both clubs have everyone from a 1 through 5 spot that can at least handle it a couple of bounces and make passes. This time you see Steele getting it out ahead to the other small guard, Weber. Alabama not afraid to run. Neither club is afraid to get out and transition push. It might go back to the days that both of these guys were assistant coaches at UCLA, and the offensive philosophy there to get up and down the floor.
We have a lot of UCLA connections here. A story to tell tonight. Coaches on a staff together, a player as well.
Cameron Dollar, one of the all-time great point guards that played in the NCAA tournament right there.
95 NCAA title under Jim Herrick. Both of the head coaches tonight assistants on that staff. Davis with a little fake action. Then he took it right to the rack and drew a foul. We've got a Husky down, and that's Jamal Williams, who was so huge here last night.
Davis playing the middle spot in that 2-3 set, and what they're doing with Davis is allowing him to dribble that basketball and attack the rim. He's a tough match, Bob, at the 4 because he's 6'7", 6'8", but he's got a good quick first step. He knows how to sweep and go by people, and right now he's doing damage from that high post area.
Mike Jensen checking back in for Washington. Jamal Williams a little woozy as he leaves the floor. Big night for Chuck Davis so far. Came in averaging 16 and 6, 5 and 4 already. And he's also been great at the line this year. That's his 24th make out of 28 attempts. So in the early going, he is shooting 86% from the line. Shot a little long from Joel Smith. Huskies having a hard time knocking them down now. They're 5 for their first 15. In transition.
Oh, you got to stop.
Nicely done, Ron Steele.
You have got to stop the ball. I mean, that guy's explosive. Two-time Alabama High School Player of the Year. Could be playing major college football right now. You've got to get on his shoulder and funnel him to a sideline, and I think get a shadow defender behind him because he brings it with a lot of speed.
Will this end a 5-minute drought? Yes. It's a 3 for Nate Robinson. The first shot in their last 8 that goes in.
He will take tough shots. He will make tough shots. Nate Robinson at 5'8".
The partisan Washington crowd does not like that foul call on Mike Jensen.
Again, another breakdown in defensive transition for Washington. Watch Alabama get it. Now they're off to the races. Where's the point guard? He finds it now. Just watch him bring it up. Goes by 1 gold jersey, 2 gold jerseys, and the 3rd gold jersey rotates over too late. You got to sprint back, Bob, when he's bringing it with that kind of quickness. If the primary defender can't funnel him to the side, the secondary or shadow defender must be in place.
Chuck Davis short-arming that one. 19-18, Alabama, 11th minute of the game. Jensen setting up shop as he often does on that perimeter. Shot fake by Robinson. Good help there to cut him off by Evan Brock of Alabama. Shovel underneath, Bobby Jones, and it won't quite go. Got a nice little heave in there from his teammate Hakeem Rollins.
Alabama's locking down man-to-man defense, not relying on a lot of help, which I think is a real key against Washington. That time a little slip in front of the rim from big to big. Washington, you talk to coaches in their league that play against these guys, and the first thing they want to talk about is how interchangeable they are. They pretty much through that 1 through 5 spot they can all handle. They can step out and shoot it. They can pass. They can sweep and drive. And it's a real tough match, especially for assistant coaches for Alabama tonight, to make sure they're always matched up on the right guy. The assistant coaches for Mark Godfrey tonight must have a good game with defensive assignments.
Orlando Early,
about it,
Tom Asbury, former coach at Kansas State and Pepperdine, and Philip Pearson. Bobby Jones gets one in there. Washington just a little out of sync here, but despite a slow start, 6 for 16 shooting, 38%, they're still tied.
Washington goes to a 2-3 zone. I'm not so sure they don't want maybe a little bit of a slow start style-wise to conserve some energy for the second half.
Kennedy Winston well long with a 3. It'll stay with Alabama. That one out of bounds off the Huskies. Right back to the hoops coverage Monday night here on ESPN2. The Wolfpack of Nevada at number 2 Kansas. Wayne Simeon came back. Jimmy, he's got 3 senior buddies to play with him, and Bill Self's Jayhawks are loaded.
That senior class has done everything but win the Final Four. Wayne Simeon's one of those guys that's on my list of possible best player in college basketball right now. I don't think we can quite award that. We haven't even given out the Heisman in football. So I think we got to wait and see what happens with Wayne Simeon and Julius Hodge and Chris Paul and Hakeem Warwick and Gilchrist. I mean, there's a lot of basketball to be played.
Guys are talking about who's the best player in the game right now. Keith Langford, a great senior in that club. Aaron Miles, Michael Lee for Kansas. They'll be on display at always emotional and exciting Allen Fieldhouse Monday night. Jensen, little give and go. Alabama really defending well in the painted area. Tough shot. Bobby Jones banks it home. He had 13 and 28 quality minutes against Oklahoma last night.
You're right, though. It was a tough shot, and it was excellent man-to-man defense by Alabama. Anytime you force an offensive player to shoot one with an extended arm, you've done your job. Look at this.
Deep 3. Ernest Shelton. shooting right at 50% beyond the arc.
Doesn't he have an easy release from 22, 23 feet?
He looks like one of those guys, Jimmy, where the game slows down for him. He sees everything, and he never panics.
Yep, strong, 6'3", 210. Underrated not only in the SEC, but underrated on the national level for a true two-guard.
Over the top of Brock. Help defense there. Chuck Davis helping on the Bama stop. Down the court goes Al Weber. Tied by 1, running down to the 7.5-minute mark.
Nice.
Nice from the big man down to Evan Brock on an angle from the wing, and a Washington foul. 7:45 to go. What does Jameer Nelson have to do with this year's Great Alaska Shootout? What's that song say? Should I stay or should I go? That's next.
Chuck Davis, watch him, Bob, to flash to the ball right here. Now watch what that does. As he flashes, watch him draw gold jerseys around him. The flash, and then along the baseline just frees you up to go to the rim. And again, if you can get to the rim against Washington, you can finish on him. This time it takes a hard foul to keep that finish from happening. But that's a great example of cutting or carving up a zone. And it all starts with that high post flash catch and then face up.
That foul by Bobby Jones is second. Washington has 3 key players that have 2 fouls already. And the shot goes down for Evan Brock. A 6'8" junior, Georgia kid out of Roswell. And he gets about 17 minutes off the bench for the Tide. First 2 points of the night.
And Washington has won a lot of ball games to finish last year and to start this year by outscoring people. An outscore you mentality. Eventually that outscore you well is going to run dry, and they're going to have to get defensive stops.
Jensen can't finish it down low. Again, very good interior defense by Chuck Davis and the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Steele fakes for 3. Shelton deep 3. Hit the rim twice and came out for Mike Jensen of Washington.
Alabama stays man. Washington has flirted back and forth between man and zone.
Great box out there. Kennedy Winston. No second chances for the Huskies right now.
No, not at all. Kennedy Winston is this versatile guy at 6'6", can score from the perimeter, the interior. His knee looks to be fully recovered from off-season knee surgery.
There you go.
And there he is.
6 out of 10 from 3-point range. Kennedy Winston, all SEC last year. And, of course, at the Phoenix Regional, he dropped 40 in 2 games on Syracuse and UConn.
Washington's offense, Bob, they spread you, they attack. Not a lot of set plays. Pretty much a 3-guard, 2 inside game. Just looking for a seam. Draw and kick, drive and dish type stuff.
Bobby Jones looking for Nate Robinson, who's been relatively quiet. Nate has a 3 so far. That's been it scoring. Freshman Steele staying with him. Deflection, Evan Brock. Shot clock expires. Great half-court defense by Alabama.
Boy, Alabama playing on the perimeter with the mental thoughts of, I don't need any help from my teammates. A lot of time, guys, they trust their teammates too much and think, you know what, if I get beat, I've got someone behind me. You can't have that mentality against a club like Washington likes to attack. You've got to lock in and take it personal. That's exactly how Alabama's playing this half.
Under 6 minutes to go first half, tied by 6. Largest lead. Davis underneath, can't get a shot, and then he puts it out of bounds. Alabama 4-0 so far, averaging 88 points a game, shooting 51%, 46 beyond the arc. Robinson bounces his way to a 2, off to the left with it. Simmons back in there, playing with 2 early fouls that sat him for a while. Ball was kicked, and a fresh 35 in the shot clock for the Tide. Back in for Washington after taking a shot a few minutes ago. Jamal Williams, the former New Mexico Lobo. Number 24, huge last night. 24 minutes against Oklahoma. Couple of blocks, 2 assists, a steal, 6 rebounds, and a game-breaking 18 points.
Important guy for Lorenzo Romar because the front line is thin. They're not tall, so they got to get scoring out of someone that can score around the bucket. Jamal Williams is that rugged inside guy that does a lot for a 6'5" man.
Jones on the drive. Stopping underneath. He got too far under. Thanks to Jamario Davidson and Chuck Davis. Those guys are controlling the paint right now. Steal in transition. Lots of traffic. Off the hands of Davis. Here come the Huskies. Conroy. Jones. And a foul. Almost a beautiful break and a three-point opportunity.
Well, and the freshman decision by Ronald Steele in transition for Alabama is what triggered this thing. Over-penetrate, try to weave that ball between a couple of defenders, but he has grown up the last 3 days. Look at this right here. Gets too deep, too many gold jerseys surrounding him, and he tries to force it. And you've got to make sure you play the game as a point guard, Bob, the same speed of your teammates. That time, he got out in front of his teammates instead of backing it off about 1 gear. But he'll learn.
Love that angle bounce pass that Conroy threw. These days, we see more alley-oops than we do those. Bobby Jones short on the free throw.
Well, Conroy and Nate Robinson are both point guards. Not a lot of teams in the country at this level play 2 point guards on the floor at the same time like Washington does. And if Brandon Roy's in the game and healthy, he's the third kind of a point guard guy. That's a tough matchup because your 2 guard now has to also cover a point at some point.
Huskies have only hit 2 of their last 14 shots. They must be feeling pretty good about being only 5 down with 5 minutes to go. Steal for Davis, trying to seal off Jones. Winston looks around, says I'm open, and maybe he didn't make the shot decision quite early enough. This one's going back the other way, having a hard time getting the ball up the floor. Washington. Nate Robinson has only taken 5 shots tonight, made 1. That was a 3. A little bit of a slow start here. But sometime during the game, you expect the explosion.
Yeah, he will turn it on. Boy, Alabama, good movement, some pretty good screening action for him.
Davis one-on-one.
Playing with poise.
Right in there, and he puts Jamal Williams on the floor and the ball in the basket. 9 for Chuck Davis. Nobody can deal with him right now.
Great job of poise right there for the interior of Alabama. Caught it, found out where the defender was, and just took his time to elevate over the top. 5
rebounds already. He's heading for a double-double. Jensen looking for the follow. Bobby Jones, yes. That guy is tough as nails in there. Half dozen for the 6'6" junior out of Compton, California, who plays with the big boys.
I'll tell you what, it's dangerous inbounding that ball against Washington in the corner. Alabama's done it 4 or 5 times. They've gotten away with it. Percentages will catch you, though, if you continue with it.
29-25 Alabama. Under 4 minutes to go first half. Championship game of the 27th annual Great Alaska Shootout. Scoop and 2, Kennedy Winston. That's a half dozen for the outstanding junior.
Well, he is stronger this year. He's on the Wooden Award list. Watch list right now.
Won't go for Jamal Williams. Oh, man open down court. How can you lose him? Chuck Davis with 11.
Bob, the energy question that I threw out early in this ball game, I think we're already starting to get the answer. Washington just doesn't have those live legs they've had the past 2 games, and Lorenzo Romar's going to take a timeout. He sees it too. Alabama
played Wednesday, but they were off on Thursday. I think playing on day 1 of this tournament, Jimmy, is a big advantage. You don't play 3 nights in a row.
Especially for a club like Washington that relies on energy. Watch Davis. I love post guys. First of all, see how wide he got as a target. Now watch him take his time. He knows I got a 6'5" guy on me, and I'm a 7'1" wingspan guy. So just back down in and score over the top. You question Kennedy Winston's healthy knee. Well, there's your answer right there. He's stronger this year. He can really slash and size you up from the perimeter. And there's the tired legs that come into play for Washington. Look at all 4 guys. Not only were they running slow, they were running with their head down, and that is a sure tail sign that your club's a little tired.
Yeah, and they miss Brandon Roy. I mean, he gives them 27 minutes a game, double-digit scoring, outstanding shooting. And right now, Alabama with a 14-3 run to take a 9-point lead, 3:26 before halftime. Who brings them out of this? I think there's our answer right there. If he can get involved, Nate Robinson. A short breather on the bench. He's right back in there, and Romar needs his energy.
You know, it's interesting. We talked about what does Jameer Nelson have an effect in Anchorage. Well, if Jameer Nelson hadn't had an hour-long conversation with Nate Robinson at the pre-draft camp last year, Nate Robinson would have been gone. And I talked to Nate before the ball game, and he said, Jameer set me down. He said, listen to me. My senior year, my final year at St. Joe's was the most fun I've ever had. Don't miss that opportunity to go back on your college campus and have a great time. And Nate said, you know what? I'm having the best time of my life this year with these guys. And that's why he's back. Chance to improve his game and make his teammates better, which ultimately just raises his stock as well.
And he's only a 3rd-year guy. Set to come out early. Rollins, Conroy, the finish. Here come the Huskies, and guess what got them going? The three from Nate Robinson. They quickly get it back to 5.
Their transition game is where they're going to get you. Washington only comes in making 4 3-point shots a game, and they average 87 points. That tells you right there they are a very, very good 2-point team.
Winston for 3. Back iron. Look at Robinson skying, helping to get the rebound for Trey Simmons. Kick to the left side, Bobby Jones. He swishes the 3. 9 for him. And suddenly a 2-point game. How about answering a 14-3 run with an 8-0 run of your own? In baseball, they say speed never slumps. And when basketball guys have a player like Nate Robinson, you're not going to have too many bad runs either. The Huskies are right back in it. Lots of wildlife to take part in here in the 49th state, the great state of Alaska, home for the Great Alaska Shootout. Serious moose waiting for us. And right now, not waiting for Bama anymore. They're right back.
Hold it right there, guys. This is the scouting report for Alabama they're working from. Look where all 5 defenders are for Alabama in transition defense. Now, that's what they've been told to do because the primary purpose is to stop the ball. Again, Washington only comes in making 4 3-point shots a game. So they served their purpose to stop the transition game of Robinson, and they gambled and gave up an open 3, and that time Washington made him pay for the gamble.
Bobby Jones shooting that thing from the outside. He had only taken 3 of those long-range attempts coming in. On the handle, Chuck Davis. Alabama has the paint advantage, 16-8 tonight. That's what you expect from a Washington opponent. Oklahoma wasn't able to do that against the Huskies last night. Shot short. Here comes Trey Simmons. Drifting to the left wing was Robinson, and an Alabama foul. I'll tell you again about the ACC Big Ten Challenge. It's all brought to you by 989 Sports. Michigan Tech at 7 Eastern Tuesday. At 9 Eastern, Michigan State and Duke. It's presented by 989 Monday through Wednesday on ESPN and ESPN2. Log on to ESPN.com for more on college hoops.
You know the game I can't wait to see in that ACC Big Ten Challenge on Wednesday night, 7 Eastern, I think. Wake Forest is at Illinois. I watched Illinois just dismantle Gonzaga today. Wake Forest has an outstanding backcourt with Chris Paul and Downey and Grabe. I tell you what, Illinois, I was impressed with them today from a lot of standpoints. But D. Brown and Darren Williams, Luther ahead. They got size inside. That just might be one of the better basketball games all season long. Wake at Illinois on Wednesday night.
Here's the other thing about Wake. Talk about getting tournament tough early in the season. Just getting through the NIT, then you go to Illinois. How about that? Shelton causing the contact, and that was interesting. He was already beyond the defender when Scott Thornley blew the whistle. Alabama doesn't like the call, and Washington rejoicing.
Well, he got him with the hook right there with the left arm. And he kind of got his rear end to him, trying to draw the foul himself, and ended up actually committing the foul.
Washington has 5 steals. They have forced 11 Alabama turnovers and have scored 10 points off of them. Evidently a technical foul because Nate Robinson goes to shoot him. Shelton got a tee.
Well, you can't have that type of play out of your senior Ernest Shelton. And I think that's why they're going to be fine with a true freshman point guard, Ronald Steele, because he's surrounded by good leadership. That's out of character for Ernest Shelton. And Kennedy Winston is a solid guy. Davis is a solid guy as a junior. And all that's going to do is just speed up and accelerate the progress of a true freshman point guard when he's surrounded by those type of kids.
Shelton gets 2 fouls on the same play with 92 seconds left in the half, pleading his case with his assistant coaches. And evidently a little blood on the arm of Trey Simmons. He'll walk down to the Washington bench.
Mark Gottfried was not pleased at all with that call on Ernest Shelton. And he's giving the officials an earful about it.
Pat Jenkins, the Washington trainer, tending to Trey Simmons, and meanwhile they'll check Joel Smith in. So the Huskies actually on top now. What a turnaround we've seen. A first half featuring 6 ties, 5 lead changes. Shot from the corner long by Nate Robinson.
Handle the chaos. Handle the chaos that Washington's going to throw at you on the perimeter. Make passes to the outside shoulder, step and meet your pass, keep good spacing, and you can get to the rim on these guys.
Chuck Davis waiting to go to the rack. There's some help from Jamal Williams. He ducks under all of them, and the tip won't go for Jamario Davidson. That's interesting. Offensive goaltending was called with the player touching a ball that was below the rim.
Well, maybe he got into the net.
Might have done it. Final minute, and the Huskies now down by 9 at the 3:26 mark. Have a chance to get a nice little lead going into the locker room.
The game's had more of a grinded out atmosphere about it than I expected. Again, both clubs came in averaging 87 points a game. Neither club able to get that 8-0, 10-0 run that they can really throw on folks.
Slow scoring first half, considering the firepower of these clubs. Washington shooting 36%, Alabama at 50, but they have 9 less shot attempts than do the Huskies.
Take this thing with 1 or 2 seconds left on that clock. Don't let Washington get the last look at the banner. That's too quick.
Yep, it's drilled. Here comes Nate. Angles it. Joel Smith.
Get it up. Get it up. There you go.
Does it count? Yes, it does. In the nick of time.
Bob, it all started on the other end. You've got to manufacture that shot clock and that game clock at the end of the half. And you've got to know that's a teaching point that they'll talk about in the locker room. The shot came too quickly from Alabama, and as a result, you're going to see the shot clock up top right here. Watch that thing count down. They'll come and check it. Boy, that's close. From watching it at game speed, it looked like there wasn't any doubt about it. But again, it all goes back to Alabama taking a shot with 4 or 5 seconds to go in the first half instead of taking the last shot for sure.
This half may not be in the books just yet. The officials will check it to see if time had expired. Scott Reese, 6 ties, 5 lead changes. Washington by 3 at the half.
Or so we think. All right, Bob, Jimmy, good work. We'll get back to you for the second half, but a lot of top 25 basketball. 1% from three-point country, and they lead it by a tray. Hi, everyone. Scott Reese back here in the studios. Washington, Alabama, certainly 2 of the top teams in the nation, and the same can be said for Syracuse with a 3-point lead over Alabama. Bobby Jones' 3, part of 71% three-point shooting by the Huskies.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show.
Washington with a last-second basket by Will Conroy and a 36-33 lead at the half. That basket in question for a while. Bob Carpenter, Jimmy Dykes back at the Great Alaska Shootout. The officials took a good, hard, close look at that thing.
It wasn't a last-second shot. It was the last 10th of a second shot, and they made the proper call because the initial call by the official when the play took place was for a good basket. By rules, they have to go to a monitor and check it when it's at the end of the half or the end of the game. This is the footage they looked at, Bob, and that's really inconclusive, if it is what they said. So really what they did is right. They made the call, they went to the monitor, they didn't see anything in that replay that made them think otherwise, so they go with their initial call. The basket's good, and again, it all goes back, in my opinion, the fact that Alabama took a shot too quick on the other end. That shot should have never taken place in this ball game.
First half shooting. Washington, bit of a struggle, well under 50% at 38. Alabama shoots 48%. Rebounding just about even. Washington getting some offensive rebounds, and Trey Simmons getting the start because of the injury to Brandon Roy. Comes up with double figures, 3 boards, an assist, and 3 steals for the Huskies. One of these teams 20 minutes away from the Great Alaska Shootout Championship. On the drive, Trey Simmons. On the wing to Nate Robinson. 6 points, 3 boards, 1 assist in 17 first half minutes. Bobby Jones with a fall away. Shooter's roll won't go in for him. Jensen kept it alive, and then crashing over the top from outside, Will Conroy with the foul. 11-7 the turnover count. Washington the fewer of the two in the first half.
Both clubs open up in man-to-man defense, and it's a similar style. Pressure the ball, make sure you've got help principles built in behind you. Seal with your feet, don't get hugged up. All the things you talked about since the beginning of practice, these clubs try to employ.
Davis off for Shelton. So soft, so relaxed. 8 points on the night for Ernest Shelton.
Well, it's a real plus when your 4 guy, which is what Chuck Davis is playing for Alabama, can handle the ball on the perimeter and become an assist man.
36 all. Robinson feeling his way around. Just about everybody touching it on this possession except for the big fella Jensen so far. Well off to the right from Trey Simmons.
And, you know, when you have a spread and attack the gap type offense that Washington has, you've got to make sure you stay unselfish, not only within the ball game, but for a 5-month period. And I think Lorenzo Romar and his staff, they do an outstanding job with this type of offense, making sure that happens.
4 guys averaging double figures.
Yep. It's too easy.
Jensen with the putback. Left the ground long before he had the ball in his. And off the miss, Mike Jensen gets his 4th and 5th points. Shelton at the other end. Then Jensen takes the charge. And Shelton, that will be his 4th foul, counting the T in the first half.
Remember, Jensen finished at one end and comes back to take the charge. He's outside that arc. He's the secondary defender. That's the proper call, and another over-penetration by the Alabama guards.
Ernest Shelton, 4 fouls, 1 minute, 51 seconds out of halftime.
You know, Alabama's having to adjust to a speed factor tonight that they haven't seen all year either. They've played Western Carolina, North Texas, Alaska, Anchorage, and Minnesota, and now they're up against speed and quickness that they haven't seen all year.
Transition, Davis. Look at the big guy run the floor. 13 for Chuck Davis.
They have 3 built-in scorers, in my opinion, does Alabama. Chuck Davis, Kennedy Winston, and Ernest Shelton.
Jensen from outside. 3-ball rims out on him. Kept alive by Bobby Jones. Simmons gets it back. His little jumper won't go. And another big guy down the floor, Jamario Davidson, who had not scored all night. He'll get a chance to here.
See Jamario Davidson running the floor that time for Alabama. He's the 5-man. The play earlier. Watch Chuck Davis with a headband right there. Gets out, gets wide of an angle. That way he can catch and have a proper angle just to lay it in. A lot of ways to use your big guys in transition. Some clubs like to run them right down the middle of the floor. Alabama will actually spread their wings out because they're athletic enough to run, catch, going full speed, and finish on you.
Big night for Chuck Davis. Bobby Jones of Washington just got his 3rd foul. Jamario Davidson has not scored. He does have 5 rebounds. Knocks that one down. He's averaging 9 points, 8 boards a game, and he's the tied leader in blocks. Alabama by 1, 3rd minute out of halftime.
Good learning tool for both ball clubs tonight and both coaching staffs, because again, they like to score in the high 80s, low 90s. So one of these teams is going to have to win a ball game when it becomes a grinded out style. Very important to learn that lesson early.
Conroy, 2-man game. Bobby Jones with his step through. Davis got all ball with the arm, but there might have been some body at the same time. That'll be number 2 on Chuck Davis. He says, yeah, I was straight up.
Alabama picked 2nd in the SEC West behind Mississippi State. LSU 3rd. Arkansas quietly sitting there, preseason 4th in the SEC West. But I think the Arkansas program is ready to make a major move. They've got great perimeter players, some inside guys now. Kentucky, I think, is the class of the SEC in the East. And I say it again, Tubby Smith has the best incoming freshman class he's ever had to work with at Kentucky. They will be a handful come January, with little Patrick Sparks out there on that floor as well, the transfer from Western Kentucky.
Yeah, how about January 05, 06, and 07 because of that youth.
Well, and because of Tubby Smith.
He'll have some happy New Year's coming up.
I don't know if folks realize how tough of a competitor Tubby Smith is. You know, he's a class guy. He has that politician style about him. But I tell you what, now he can light you up in a hurry in the right way from a coaching standpoint.
Well, I first met him when he was an assistant with George Felton at South Carolina. You could see the fire then. Had a great run at Tulsa before getting that opportunity. There's a travel as Chuck Davis puts the ball on the floor and commits the turnover. Each team had 2 turnovers in the first 2 minutes of tonight's game, and considering that, their total since has been pretty reasonable.
Washington's used to forcing 17 turnovers a ball game. Alabama already with 14.
Yeah, Washington's really taking care of the ball. Nate Robinson with that 3. That gives him 9 on the night. The Huskies have turned it over only 5 times since the first 2 minutes of the game. So despite some 38% shooting in the first half, that kept them close. Now they have a 3-point lead.
And Alabama's confident to let their 3, 4, or 5 man bring it up against the pressure, which is exactly what Washington wants you to do.
High-low, underneath, lots of bodies, and nothing Jermario Davidson can do about it. Straight ahead, Bobby Jones.
Well, what a great pass, though, by Nate Robinson, huh? 5'8", has vision. It's hard to find Nate Robinson in transition as a dribbler and as a passer.
Alabama timeout. 4 minutes and 12 seconds out of halftime. Huskies by 5.
Maybe one of the best players in the country overall, but certainly in my top 2 or 3 under 6 feet tall is Nate Robinson. He can shoot it, he can pass it, he can impact the game, Bob Carpenter, at both ends, and he's only 5'8".
Speaking of football,
the little guy that understood as a freshman, that's Nate Robinson as a defensive back for Washington. Started 6 ball games. You know, every year they give out the best player under 6 feet tall. It's the Pomeroy Naismith Award. These are my top guys right now for that award. Certainly Robinson, John Lucas at Oklahoma State, Drew Lavender at Oklahoma, who's in this tournament, Dee Brown, who'll be on ESPN this week in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and little Squeaky Johnson for Mike Anderson at UAB. I think those are your front runners right now for that award.
Thus prompted, Nate lets one go. It doesn't go in for him. Cleaning up the mess underneath, Trey Simmons. And for Simmons, a dozen tonight.
It's always a game of possessions when you play Washington. And you look at this ball game right now, they have shot the ball 17 more times than has Alabama.
They're up 7 in offensive rebounds, make it 8 now, +5 in steals, +7 in turnovers forced. It's a plus night for the guys from Seattle. Geographically the closest team to Alaska, and Chuck Davis keeping the guys from Tuscaloosa in this thing. That's 15 for the 6'7" junior out of Selma. 46-41.
And the game pretty much stays a half-court type ball game. Not characteristic of either one of these clubs.
Conroy weaving around, hanging, got his own. That's the experience and the never panic of the former walk-on, Will Conroy. What a nice career he's fashioned, walking on and then ending up somewhere in the top 5 or so of all-time assists at Washington.
Again, he and Nate Robinson are both point guards. Conroy 6'2", 200. Robinson 5'8", and 170. Why they're hard to press, and they can put the pressure on you.
6 minutes out of halftime. Foul call. Huskies in control. Robinson at the controls. Great story in the house tonight. That's Wendell Hudson, the associate athletic director at Alabama. But more importantly, under C.M. Newton, he was a basketball All-American and the first African-American to earn an academic scholarship at the University of Alabama. Outstanding basketball player under their second leading all-time coach, C.M. Newton. Wendell Hudson, a classy gentleman, and enjoying his visit here to Alaska. There's been some more ground broken in the SEC this year, of course.
Well, he paved the way for guys like Dennis Felton and Tubby Smith and Sylvester Croom this year on the football side of it. History's in the building.
Tough defense there by Trey Simmons. 24 to shoot for the Tide when they throw it in. Under the 14-minute mark now. Lots of playing time for Trey Simmons tonight because of Brandon Roy's hyperextended knee. They'll have another look at it Monday in Seattle and they're on pins and needles about that news.
Washington has really recovered in shadowed three-point shooters. Alabama came in making 9 a ball game, and they've only made 4 so far in this one.
Interior passing by the Tide. Winston on the receiving end on a good feed down there by the backup guard Al Weber. Monday night, college basketball continues on ESPN2. 9 Eastern, Nevada making plenty of news in recent years out of the WAC. At number 2, Kansas, along with Oklahoma State, a preseason Big 12 favorite. 9 Eastern. Log on to ESPN.com for more.
That Big 12 is going to be hard to figure. Yes, Kansas and Oklahoma State and Texas are kind of the stylish teams and the easy on your eye team right now. But I'm telling you what, Oklahoma now, they're coming in a hurry. Much like he's coming in a hurry.
Hakeem Rollins in a big time hurry. 50-41 Huskies. Biggest lead. Most of the crowd here is rooting for the team from, 4 hours from here? That's by air, of course. Momentary look at a back cut by Davis. He'll put it on the floor. Angle into the left side. Takes some contact on the attempted block by Hakeem Rollins, who just gave us a highlight entry.
Again, I like clubs, Bob, that they can all rebound, dribble a couple of times, make passes, and run and finish. But look at the speed that Nate Robinson brought that basketball. And he just weaves in and out. And again, he's only 5'8". So you got a big guy like Rollins run on the side, and it's hard to find Nate Robinson as a defensive guy when you're running in transition. Like a running back in football, when he gets in behind big offensive linemen, he's through the hole and past you before you recognize it. That's the problem that Nate Robinson brings as a transition point guard. You can't guard what you can't see.
And in some cases, you can't guard what you can't reach, and that would be Chuck Davis. At the line, gets them both. He's a 6'7" forward with a better than 7-foot wingspan. Evan Brock, one of their long, offensively skilled guys, comes in for Alabama. Of course, he's athletic. Everybody is in the SEC, I think. Any league in the country more athletic than the Southeastern Conference over the years? I don't think so.
Not year in and year out.
Tipped away by Ron Steele.
Tell the other thing about the SEC, since the 1999-2000 season, every team in the SEC has at one time or another been ranked in the AP top 25. No other league can say that. You look at the ACC, Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech, they haven't been ranked in that time period. Michigan, Northwestern, Penn State from the Big 10, the Big 12. They've had guys like Baylor and Colorado, K-State that have not been in the top 25. That's a strong statement coming out of the SEC.
Alabama foul on Ron Steele. That'll be his second. Out on top to Jamal Williams, who had a scoreless first half. Conroy on the drive, angles it for Jamal. Running into Davis and scoring over the top of him. Jamal Williams had 18 last night against Oklahoma. Maybe that jump starts him. Huskies by 9, 52-43.
Bob Williams is not going to score over you unless he can get his left shoulder turning and throw that little jump hook, because he's only 6'5". He understands that, though, as an interior player.
Evan Brock trying to keep control there. From the corner, in goes the 3-ball. That's the backup guard, Al Weber, who's in there because Ernest Shelton has 4 fouls.
Well, Weber's in there to score. The problem with Weber right now is his man scores as many points as he does. He doesn't quite have it figured out defensively like Mark Gottfried wants him to yet.
Played some prep ball in Durham last year at Mount Zion, a great prep program. A Louisiana kid out of Marrero, Louisiana. They're really paying attention to Robinson anytime he's inside that arc. Conroy down to the left side, dumps it off. Jamal Williams. Davis had to come out and guard him. That leaves the rebound open for Evan Brock. And jumping right into him was Jamal.
How about that? Another guy that can rebound it and bring it for Alabama. But look at the patience inside by Jamal Williams 2 possessions ago. 6'5", he knows I can't go up here. I've got to get to my left shoulder turn stuff. Slow down in the interior. Great job, Jamal.
Whoa. I've seen a moose in Alaska just hanging out on the freeway, and I've seen a baseball game at midnight before, but it was still daylight rather. But Alaska's a fun place. I've been here several times, and The people here are really friendly, really down to earth, and it's just kind of a down-home feeling here. So we're enjoying coming here.
It is a down-home feeling. They'll feel great if they can win the championship here. And Washington's 4th ever visit to the Great Alaska Shootout. Best they ever finished was 3rd and 82. They're without Brandon Roy, who's out with a hyperextended right knee, so they need some help with one of their big guys out of there.
Well, the guy that started in his place, Trey Simmons, pretty good line tonight. 12 points, 6 rebounds, has an assist, 4 out of 9 from the field. That's the kind of numbers you have to have from someone that's taken up slack.
Evan Brock, Jr. out of Roswell, Georgia.
Why has everyone seen a moose except you and I?
I think it's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy between the moose. They get together every year about mid-November and say, hey, BC and Jimmy D are heading back up here. Yeah. Everyone hide.
Well, once we're in town, they find out what our car looks like, and they hide when they know we're on the way. I'm convinced. I mean, Romar sees one on the expressway. Evidently, a timeout was accomplished there. So 8.5 minutes out of halftime. The ball will stay that way. Let's take a look back on this date in college basketball history. Known later as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 39 years ago in a scrimmage, Lou Alcindor and the UCLA freshman shocked the top-ranked Bruin varsity. The first game ever played in Pauley Pavilion. Alcindor would lead UCLA to the national title each of his 3 seasons on the varsity. You think that has anything to do with freshmen getting to play today, these days? Here's that UCLA connection, Jimmy, couple of assistants and a player on the 95 national champions.
Well, all 3 of those guys on the graphic are friends. There's Cameron Dollar at one of the terrific performances in an NCAA tournament, leading his club to the championship. And I think you see similar styles between Mark Gottfried and Lorenzo Romar on the offensive end for sure. Not afraid to get out and run, press a little bit, force the tempo, force the issue. I still see these clubs both as NCAA tournament-bound teams. I know it's early, but they have all the ingredients you look for NCAA berth.
Mark Gottfried was a Bruin assistant for 7 years. Lorenzo Romar for 4. And every year those guys got to go to the big dance, and they won it all under Jim Herrick in '95.
Boy, Chuck Davis is really a tough match one-on-one inside about 10, 12 feet.
Will Conroy. He said, if you don't guard me in the face, I'll stroke one in there from deep range. 8-point Husky lead, 10th minute of the second half. On the drive, Weber. He can do some things offensively, as Jimmy said. He scored 21 a game at the high prep level on the East Coast last year. Rated top 50 coming out of Mount Zion. Foul off the ball. ACC Big Ten Challenge Tuesday, a doubleheader. Michigan, Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets out of the ACC, number 3. It's number 10 Duke hosting Michigan State, 9th ranked at 9 Eastern from Cameron. It's all brought to you by 989 Sports. Log on to ESPN.com for more.
I mean, great basketball coming out of those 2 leagues on actually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night on the ESPN Family Network.
Conroy again. Suddenly 14 for Will.
Bob, again, Washington came in only making 4 3-point shots again. Those numbers would indicate they're a terrific 2-point team, but they also can do damage from the 3.
Steal for Davis. Evan Brock on the left wing. Every time they turn around, there seem to be 2 Huskies in there. So they've got to go outside, and that's Kennedy Winston.
You see him drift off of that little bit of a bounce of the basketball. Just got in vision of the passer and got himself free. I mean, you've got to be able to get yourself open in a game like this.
Simmons for Williams, and Jamal has come alive. 18 last night, scoreless throughout, well, 2/3 of this game. And now 3 baskets in the last few minutes.
He's like Chuck Davis. Their arm length allows them to make additional plays that their height would tell you they shouldn't be making.
Kennedy Winston couldn't make a pass, had to call the timeout.
Ex-Lobo Jamal Williams is really a key transfer for Washington this year. One of the key transfers on the national scene, actually. He'll be a major player And again, he's fitting a piece of the puzzle that is so badly needed for this Husky program. A guy that can score inside. Forget about the fact he's only 6'5" or 6'6". He can get it done and produce in the interior, something that Washington really needs to go along with their perimeter game and their speed game that they can throw at you.
9:14 to go. Winner of this game may start thinking about some loftier goals in terms of the top 25. We've got 19 and 23 dueling tonight.
Pretty much a popularity poll still this early in the season until you start getting some of those Wake Forest, Illinois type games where folks are beating up each other head to head. I like everybody on that screen, and you know what? I could come up with 10 more teams to fill out that screen that I think have just as good a chance to get to St. Louis this year. Again, there is no UConn, there is no Emeka Okafor this year in college basketball. It's as wide open with as many really good teams, Bob, as I've seen in a long, long time.
But Wake is legit in that #1 hole. They won the NIT, and that's the big prize at this point of the season.
Nice.
Chuck Davis with 21. 62-55, 8:50 to go. Lots of basketball remaining before we decide a Great Alaska Shootout champion.
Yeah, and Wake won that thing last night without playing their best basketball. Skip Prosser said it himself. He said, I don't think we could have played any worse.
Davidson, or rather Davis, knocked the ball away. Then he got poked in the eye when Mike Jensen reached around.
He's done a lot of work at the high post area tonight as a ball handler, and then he cuts to the rim. The duck for Chuck is a big part of that Alabama offense, whether he's ducking from the high post or he's ducking from the low post. There you see him getting swatted across the bridge of the nose, but I mean, he's another built-in scorer, and he has a lot of competitive fire in him. Don't underestimate him because he's only 6'7".
Hard to believe a guy who 2 years ago only played 80 minutes.
Well, he really came on, didn't he? From freshman to sophomore, my goodness.
Mark Gottfried, his staff, they don't have many regrets, but the one they do have, not redshirting that young man when he got very little playing time on a club that only won 17 games 2 years ago. Foul on Ron Steele, his third. And to the line, Nate Robinson.
What a job Mark Gottfried has done. The first #1 ranking ever for Alabama basketball occurred under him in December of '02. Took the squad to the Elite 8 last year. Something he's very proud of. Talking to him at breakfast a couple of mornings ago. Every senior in the last 5 years has graduated. He's had 16 academic all-conference kids during his time at Alabama. And he was eating breakfast with his 5 kids. And he said, coaching this team is much more difficult than coaching the team you're going to see later on tonight. I mean, they were spread out everywhere in that breakfast area.
Well, the Gottfried family has dominated the indoor pool at the hotel.
Yeah, they sure have.
It's like jumping in with a bunch of sharks. It's a little dangerous in there. They've had a great time. Mark's wife, Elizabeth, a former Crimson Quarter, who met Mark on the campus in Tuscaloosa. Great story, great family. 64-57 Huskies, 8 minutes to go. Quick release. Trey Simmons from the right side. Looks like a Washington foul on the unbelieving Bobby Jones. That'll be his 4th. '17 fouls on the Huskies now. Bama into the bonus. Alabama only has 5 team fouls at this point. That could serve them well down the stretch. To the line at the other end will be Ernest Shelton, who's had a rather quiet night. He's averaging 20.
You know, the other thing with Washington that really jumps out at me watching them play, they average 85, 86 points a ball game. They only average 12 turnovers with that pace of a game. They have 7 tonight. Now, here's the reason why. They practice fast and they play fast every time they step on the floor. This is a guy that understands if we do it, let's do it. That basketball.
Ernest Shelton got a tee with 1:32 left in the first half. He got his 4th foul. 1:51 out of halftime. And under 8 minutes to go now. Sorry about our momentary loss of picture there. We'll keep you posted here from Alaska. 64 Huskies.
Left shoulder.
Little high-low. Williams can't finish it. Good hustle on the baseline, keeping it for Trey Simmons. 9 on the shot clock. Jensen short on the outside shot. Shelton, he had Robinson pawing away at him, and then Mike Jensen will get the foul call. They don't like it in Anchorage, where they like their Huskies a lot. 7.5 to go. Lorenzo's Huskies. 5.
Daddy was a rancher.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
That moose has decided to munch on our satellite truck a little bit. That's why we've lost our picture a time or two. Actually, 40-mile-an-hour winds outside Sullivan Arena right now. Now let's talk about the high-flying stuff inside, Jimmy. Rebounding. Last night, Washington out-rebounded Oklahoma by 10. They're doing it again tonight.
That was one of the questions that the Washington staff wanted to have answered by the time they got on the plane to head back to Seattle, and I think they've answered it well throughout this tournament. You look at the numbers they're throwing up right now in this ball game, that's probably the difference. Plus 10 on the offensive rebound margin tonight. And look at the other line. Again, it's a game of possessions for Washington, the speed they play. They have shot 21 more field goal attempts than their opponent in this ball game. Kind of the Mike Anderson at UAB theory. Forget about the fact that we don't really rebound well because of our size. If we can get more possessions than you, then we're going to beat you more times than not. Right now, Washington, they have more possessions, and they're winning the rebounding battle.
Can't argue with the success of that club. Sweet 16 last year for those guys from Birmingham, when the former Arkansas Razorback assistant won 22 games for the Blazers in Conference USA.
Nice curl, terrific curl off of the screen.
Nate Robinson, 14. 66-61. Bama has hit at the other end its last 5 field goal attempts now.
Interchangeable parts are Conroy and Robinson. You can use one at the 1 and one at the 2 and then flip them up.
From behind, Hakeem Rollins. Here come the Huskies. It's Nate again.
Oh, terrific. Terrific spacing of Nate Robinson off of the point guard push of Will Conroy. He knew that he wasn't going to get a layup, Bob, so he immediately just made a little eye cut, which is just a back quick cut to the three-point line, and drained it.
17 for Nate Robinson tonight. 11 of those since halftime. Winston hanging, banking, and scoring. Double figures for Kennedy Winston. Hey, we got a little pace going here now, don't we? That half-court stuff is gone for a bit.
And I don't think it favors either club. Both clubs are comfortable playing up and down basketball.
Oh, look at Conroy with the runner. He cannot be a next walk-on the way he plays with such great poise. Passing and scoring. Evan Brock in transition. Conroy right in the grill of Shelton. He'll duck through everybody and feed Chuck Davis.
You see who blocked the shot?
Yeah, Nate Robinson.
5'8", blocking a 6'10". That can jump. Watch Nate Robinson rotate down. He rotates down a little late, so all he can do is go up top and try to get a lot of ball. And you know, you're almost tempted, if you're the official, to not make the call, because the guy shouldn't be making a play like that.
You know what? They're booing because they just showed the replay twice on the video board here.
He got a lot of ball up top. Well, yeah, you turn around and smile at him because he got you up top, Chuck. He does things that a guy his size should not do on this level of college basketball.
Chuck Davis doesn't mind. He's got 23 points tonight.
Yeah.
He's going to get his. 71-65.
Look
Washington.
out, look out.
And that was Nate Robinson on the receiving end from Conroy. That's a foul. And for Nate, that'll be number 4. Shouldn't have gotten that one.
Boy, he's smart, though. A lot of things you can do with him that you think, I'm not sure we should draw this up. At 5'9", look at him. Goes up top, and the pass was perfect. It got knocked off balance just a little bit. Not many 5'8" guys that you drop an alley-oop for, and he's probably the only one in the country that you'll see this year. Gonna have to take a seat for a little bit.
Not long. Ron Steele, the freshman, 8th point of the night. Bobby Jones also playing with 4. Back in for Washington. There's a guy who likes to speed the pace of the game.
You know, if Mo Williams had not left early from that Alabama campus, he's a starting point guard for the Bucks right now. He would be the starting point guard for Alabama, and Ronald Steele would be your backup. Wow.
Simmons for 3.
That's too easy.
Down goes the tray.
One pass and a jack for a guy that can flat out shoot that basketball. That's too easy if you're Alabama right now.
15 for Trey Simmons. Huskies by 7, 5.5 to go. Championship game of the Great Alaska Shootout. Steele can't knock it in. Simmons has the loose ball into the hands of Conroy.
You know, and slowly the game, Bob, is creeping towards that 80-point barrier or more for Washington.
Jensen with a great offensive rebound, but he couldn't keep it. And it was only 36-33 at the half. Steele spins it in. Double figures for the freshman point guard, Ron Steele.
Great decision to get the ball up at half court. Had the dribbler kept it another couple of bounces, that play wouldn't have been made.
Jensen to Jones. Bobby can't get a shot. Neither can Simmons. Jensen from Conroy. Shot clock at 10. Just nicked iron. Out of bounds off Bobby Jones. Back to Alabama. That's a big defensive stop for the Crimson Tide. 2-possession game, 4.5 minutes to go.
It's a resume game. Again, in March, selection committee will come together and they'll look back and say, who won that ball game on a neutral floor? Forget about that it's early, because these are two quality teams, and it's a good resume win for one of them.
Sullivan Arena, Anchorage, 27th annual Great Alaska Shootout. The championship game gets a little closer. Kennedy Winston with a dozen and a 3-point spread now. 4 minutes to go.
He will be a guy that's mentioned in the SEC this year as possible player of the year, Kennedy Winston, along with folks like obviously Lawrence Robertson, Anthony Roberson, and guys like that.
Conroy sees a little bit of an opening and a pushing foul underneath. 3:51 to go. We're going down to the wire with the Tide and the Huskies here in Anchorage.
Man,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
The best plays of this tournament have been misses by this guy. A miss up top and then a terrific block of the basketball that he got called for a foul. Look at him staring up at the guy he just brought down, and then the missed alley-oop, a 42, 43-inch vertical jump. He will be a great change of pace NBA guard. Only 5'8" in the college level doesn't affect his play at all. He can still do everything that you want a guard to do. He will be tempered a little bit on the next level, but he will make a lot of money for several years because he is just one of those rare guys.
And wherever he plays, the fans will fall desperately in love with him.
16 points and 4 rebounds and assists tonight in this ball game. He's been kind of quiet doing it.
Second half shooting, Alabama 71%. These Huskies 50. Point game, 3 to go.
Who wins the timeout? Both clubs talked about it. We'll see which one's going to walk away with the points or stopping the points right here.
Shot clock at 5. Simmons for Jones. Bobby. Oh my, a late in the possession 3. 15 for Bobby Jones.
You know what? Alabama will grade this film and say, hey, terrific job coming out of the timeout and playing defense. That kid just hit a shot on you.
And
that's
it was
all you
a
can
tough
say.
shot. That was not a great look.
No, that's all you can say.
I guess any look that goes in is great. Tough shot. Steele in trouble in the corner. Releases for Shelton. A little grab as he made his fake by Will Conroy.
The last Washington basket, the shot clock was winding down. He's going to release this thing with 2. 1 to 3 from the 3-point line. Boom. Terrific job for a kid that's not known for a 3-point shooter coming in.
Yeah, only 3 attempts this year coming in. He's knocked down 2 of them tonight. At the line, Ernest Shelton.
And it's been a flip-flop, Bob, of 3-point shooting. Washington has made 11 on the ball game. They come in making 4. Alabama's only made 5. They came in making 9.
You know what? They better put him on the all-tournament team, Nate, and he might be the most outstanding player of the tournament. If he's not, I don't know what they're going to do to this place. These fans have fallen for him.
He should be on the Wooden Award. He should be on the Francis Pomeroy Award.
Chuck Davis missing a layup. Still wants it. Did he get a timeout? Yes, he did. What a hustle play by Chuck Davis. We've had a great 4 days here in Anchorage, 27th annual Great Alaska Shootout.
weather outside is frightful, the fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. But when we finally...
Well, lots of scoring in this tournament. The Seawolves, the home team, win a Division I game. They beat High Point today, 66-65. 19th year out of 20, they beat a Division I program. Hey, nicely done for Rusty Osborne his first year.
You know, it's been some really good basketball up here. I still think Utah, after watching them in person, is the team to beat in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I still like Washington out of the Pac-10. Oklahoma is going to be a major player in the Big 12, and Alabama also in the SEC. And Minnesota, if they're the 10th best team in the Big 10 this year, that league could be great, because I tell you what, they play a style with some ruggedness about them that I really like.
Alabama can't score. 2:36 to go, 5-point game.
You know, it has still, in my mind, been kind of a grinded out game, but look at the score all of a sudden, creeping towards the 80s, which they love to play, both clubs.
Conroy around that perimeter, senior leadership here. He will score. 18 for Will Conroy, a dozen since halftime. Here's Shelton off to the races. And Ernest Shelton has 15 after a slow start tonight, playing with 4 fouls.
Explosive, isn't he, for 6'3", 200? I mean, just blew by that front line defense and then got himself gathered at the rim to make the layup.
And the fouls didn't take him out of this game. The great ones find a way to get there. Now he steals the ball. Now he gets his man out of the way.
Well, he pushed off.
Nate Robinson went down and no whistle. Shelton scores, and the officials call a timeout. We have an injured Husky on the play, and it's not Nate.
You've got a 210-pound guard. Look at that left arm right there. Shoved off just enough to get Nate Robinson flying into the guest cheerleaders on the end. Watch this. There's the push and the completion. Quick on quick is 2 in gold.
79-76. But both clubs really taking care of the ball well. 5 total turnovers this half. Great box out there by Chuck Davis, and the Tide could tie it or trail by 1 on this possession. We're under 90 seconds to go.
Set play called by Mark Gottfried up top of your screen. See if his kids execute it.
Shelton, a little bit short on a deeper than deep 3. Down to 1 minute. We go in the championship game.
Well, you've got to have a stop if you're Bama. And it doesn't stop with just the first shot defense. Your second shot defense has to clean it up.
Washington here for the 4th time. First ever visit for Alabama. Shot clock at 5. Conroy, baseline, passes. Davis intercepts after a deflection. 35 seconds to go. Bama down by 3.
Bring it across and call time. There you go.
ACC Big Ten Challenge Tuesday. Michigan, Georgia Tech, 3rd ranked at 7 o'clock. And then right after that, number 9 Michigan State goes to Cameron Indoor Stadium. The Duke Crazies waiting. Coach K's number 10 Blue Devils knocked off in the championship game here 1 year ago tonight by Purdue. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern. It's all brought to you by 989 Sports. Log on to ESPN.com for more.
Duke put it on Michigan State last year, and that will be a tough task for Tom Izzo's club. But I really like his club. They're tougher and they're deeper this year. And if those games are as good as this one, it's going to be a great week of basketball for everyone to watch.
Alabama shooting 56% tonight. It may not be good enough. We'll find out a lot of that on this coming possession. 31 seconds to go, and the Tide down by 3.
You know, it's amazing. Alabama's still in this ball game, and they have 21 fewer attempts from the field than Washington.
Nate Robinson getting ready for the NBA, and so are we. Fast break is next. Of course, Hubie Brown stepping down. Big news in Memphis. Pistons rule changes and some early season surprises.
Just to cast my ballot quickly, make that arc right now they're experimenting with underneath the rim bigger. Move the three-point line back some more, because you still got bad three-point shooters taking them because it's not far back enough. And I like the widening of the lane, the little bit that they've done it so far.
How many years do we have to see the lane get widened before we finally do it? I mean, every year
there's an experimental
somebody
rule.
make a decision.
That arc is not big enough, I think, to help the officials make the calls they need to make. Widen it out a little bit, then I think you've got it.
Yeah, that thing looks like Chuck Davis's fingernail.
Yeah.
30.8 seconds to go. Davis, big man for Bama tonight with 23 points. They may not be able to go inside here. They may need a three.
A year ago early, Washington wouldn't have the poise and the confidence to win a tight ball game. Let's see if they can finish this one off. That's what Romar wants from his ball club this year.
3-second difference in the clocks. They do go in. Davis can't score. Rebound. Hakeem Wallace of Washington. Out of bounds off Conroy. And Alabama will get it back. 9 seconds to go. Mark Gottfried has used all of his timeouts. Didn't use any in the first half. 4 here in the second.
Washington has 3 left, but they do the right thing and not call one, because now Alabama's forced to come up with a three-point play off the out-of-bounds line.
Shot clock at 6, now 5.
They got to look.
Shelton needs to launch one to tie it. We have a whistle and a travel at midcourt on Nate Robinson. 2 seconds left. And Bama will get one more chance.
They had a look, and Shelton didn't catch and quickly get it up. He hesitated just long enough to allow Washington to recover defensively. But the shot clock expired, Bob.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
There was technically a shot clock violation.
When Shelton caught it, he should have shot it. Now look.
You see the 0 and the red number up there. All the Washington players tapping the tops of their heads like shot clock violation. Did the travel happen before the clock went to 0?
Well, it
didn't appear that it did to me.
If they called traveling, and here's a clock, keep an eye on it. If they called traveling,
0 already.
What they're saying is that Washington had control of the basketball. If he didn't have control of the basketball, then that shot clock would have continued to tick down.
2 seconds to go. Great Alaska shootout, championship game. Alabama has to have a 3. Now Washington does take the timeout.
Well, what an effort play again by Nate Robinson, huh? And this is not a check the monitor situation. They've made the call, and
it appeared to me the shot clock was at 0 before the travel of Nate Robinson happened.
Shot clock is up top.
0 now.
That ball should be awarded to Washington, because the shot clock expired before Washington got possession of it.
I agree with you, partner.
Yeah.
Bama gets a break. We're back real quick.
Today's sponsor of
up there, which right now reads 3. That's the shot clock. Okay, if that thing expires, boom, it expired right there before Washington had control of the basketball.
Correct.
Nate Robinson got control of it, Bob, and the resulting travel call was called after the shot clock expired.
But again, as Jimmy said, that's not a play where the officials can go to the table, we don't think. So 2 seconds to go. Alabama needs a pass, a three-point jack, and the ball to go in to force overtime.
Big break for Alabama. They got to get a down screen, run a shooter, catch and shoot.
Ball deflected. Winston,
Get it up.
a dribble, a shot, and Washington holds on to win the Great Alaska Shootout. And there's the man who made it happen.
You know, and it came down to a couple of defensive plays for Washington, a club that won all their ball games last year on the offensive side of things by outscoring folks. When they had to come up with a stop or two, they got it done. Again, a club last year that would not have won this close of a game against a quality opponent this early in the season. Terrific job by getting a deflection of the pass from the inbounds guy. He didn't reach over, which would have created a technical foul. Look at that terrific job right there by Hakeem Rollins to go straight up, Bob, and deflect that pass as it's coming in. Full of energy and passion and a love for life and basketball right there, folks. Nate Robinson.
He's at least on the all-tournament team and maybe the MVP. Jimmy, a great weekend of hoops, and what a wrap-up to Feast Week.